Good morning. Good morning. What's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back, and it is time for a brand new video. As Gavin here says, breakfast with KG, yeah, GMT. I'm here early because we've got another video to do later, and I think it's probably a much anticipated press conference from Daniel Farke today. What spin are we going to get? Are we going to get any truths? What we're going to get today from Daniel Farke, we'll find out later, and we'll come back and speak about it then. But I have a few things that I want to talk about this morning, a couple of transfer rumors that are, for me, very underwhelming, to say the least. But I also want to address your concerns because a lot of the comments are pretty much saying the same thing. And I'm going to give my take on it in this very video. Also going to speak about potential issues with Daniel Farke in the future. Some would say even more. And I want to speak about that in terms of Daniel Farke's standing around the football world in compared to other managers. Listen, before we get into the video today, please like it as you come in, or if you're watching a replay, please subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button does work. I assure you, people that don't subscribe, it does work. Just click it and you will be subscribed to this channel. And of course, drop your thoughts and comments below on everything discussed. Thank you to Parrot House for the super thanks on the last video. Big support of the channel. Big up to you, Parrot House, each and every time. And listen, if you want to become a member of the channel, like Deshaun here, the link is in the description. Deshaun here say morning boss, and then he follows up, my main concern is our manager. We're going to speak about that, Deshaun, in this very video. And Matt, this is going to be, you know what? Shall we start here? Shall we just start here? And morning to everyone in the chat, man. Morning, KG. Personally, I think if we don't sign anyone and Meslier stays in goal, we will only get the playoffs. Matt, you've basically summed up the concern. And this is where we're going to go. This is where we're going to go, people. So let's start this. And this is via LUFC data. I've given you a few of these numbers already, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But Illan Meslier and I would say Daniel Farke as well are the concerns for fans in general. They feel that with Daniel Farke, we won't go up, but more so Illan Meslier, if he stays, we won't go up. Now, usually I'd come on here and say, well, look at our squad, look at this, look at that, what we've done. We're getting goals from everywhere. It shouldn't be a problem. But I can't quell those concerns. I can't. And I'm not going to feed into it and say, we're not going up. We're definitely not going up if we don't replace Meslier. I'm not going to do that because we've still got a better chance than most of finishing in the top two. We do. With the players that we have, we do. But obviously, the goalkeeper being a big hindrance is a problem. And the reason why I can't quell those concerns is because we've seen it already. We've seen this literally happen last season. The team is coasting, clean sheet after clean sheet, shot suppression, until it's not suppressed anymore. And we saw what happened. It got ugly. It got real ugly towards the last couple months of the season. All of a sudden, the defense wasn't as solid as it was before. And that was due to a few things, but we'll stick to general terms here. The defense wasn't as solid before. The midfield wasn't doing its job as it was in previous months. And all of a sudden, the ball was seeing Illan Meslier more. And what did that mean, people? It meant we conceded more goals. And that is going to be the same case again if this goalkeeper stays at the football club. It will. The evidence is there and it won't change. So unless we're going to continue being the best team that is suppression shots, I completely get people's concerns. I absolutely get it because it's happened. It's literally happened before. It's not a hypothetical where you can say, well, this could happen. We've seen it happen before, and more so just with the recent result against Hull City. We're 3-1 up against Hull City away, people, third from bottom. And our goalkeeper has literally gifted them a point. Sunderland, we're comfortable, 2-1 win away from home. Goalkeeper gifts them a point. We've seen it over and over again. And just with this, with Illan Meslier, there's a lot of numbers here. I've given you a lot in the previous videos, but what I want to show here, first of all, is this one: 19 goals conceded, ranked third best for fewest goals conceded despite facing the fewest shots on target. I think I've given you that before, but this is the one here. The stats suggest that Illan Meslier should have saved 39 more goals than he has conceded over the last 5 seasons. So going into this, in terms of that alone, this reminds me of so many match reactions where I've asked you guys, and these probably go under these 39 goals. I feel like, and you've heard me say this before, people, I feel like another goalkeeper could have saved that. I feel like another goalkeeper probably saves it. Or I don't have the confidence. Just take the Burnley loss for instance, where Solomon slips and there's still a long way to go before the Burnley player scores. who scored it? It doesn't matter who scored it. But I said I knew when he put it to the side, it wasn't going to be saved by Illan Meslier. And it's those kind of shots where you go, that makes a lot of sense. One where a penalty, I don't know if penalties count, but where the penalty goes straight at him, but he dives over it. He jumps over the pen. There's so many things where this goalkeeper is just unreliable. But now everyone's woken up. By the way, I always love this, and I only go by my YouTube because obviously I have to type in Leeds United to get the press conferences, watch those. And then you see like all the other accounts now. Illan Meslier needs to be sold. First, they call you crazy, and then they understand. That's all I'll say. That's why I got my channel, man. You know, I see these things ahead of time. Now everyone's on the bandwagon. It's all crazy. It's all crazy. But Illan Meslier has let in more goals, and that is a concern for me because we can't. I can't sit here and say to you, well, it doesn't matter because we should have enough to beat Hull City away, because it's already happened where we've dropped points because of the goalkeeper. So yeah, listen, I'm not saying we're at the top two. And listen, Jag here is saying, hey, KG, if we don't strengthen and our rivals do bring in players, are you confident of automatic promotion? Yeah, and we're going to speak about that in a bit, Jag, but I am still confident we can finish in the top two. And again, this is by a hope more than anything. As long as we can keep on going 3 games without, conceding many shots and getting clean sheets and winning or getting points, then we should be okay, as long as we don't collapse like the end of last season. But can you guarantee that? Absolutely not. You can't guarantee it. So listen, whereas we have a hole with a goalkeeper, we have strengths that other teams don't have. And that's where I like to put a little perspective on things. When you look at our squad depth, we're clear. We're clear of other teams. And yes, we're going to speak about a couple of strengthens in a bit, Jag, and everyone else. But what other teams are doing is they're trying to get up to our level, but in getting up to our level, they're shoring up positions what they were weak in before and have gotten stronger. So that's where if we stay still and don't strengthen the positions that I feel we need to strengthen, which is left back and of course goalkeeper, then yeah, it probably evens up the playing field overall when it comes to the results against the lower league teams, by the lower teams in the division. So yeah, I understand that, but I still feel that with this squad, and it's more rounded, better rounded than last season, in my opinion. Whereas we was relying on Somerville and Jorginho to create the magic. It's coming from all sources. Sometimes it's Dan James, other times it will be Solomon. If Ramazani gets on the pitch again, it could be him. Aronson's coming up with magic. Peru's on 10 goals. Our centre back score. So that's what I'm saying. For me, it's a lot more well-rounded this time, and the league is leaker. But yeah, what I'm seeing from Sheffield United in terms of Bembra and Diaz, Hamza Chowdhury, who's just a dog in midfield, he's going to be useful for Chris Wilder, more than useful. Very good defensive midfielder at this level as well. Then yeah, we do need to do something. But will Leeds do something? Time will tell. We're on the 9th of January, and let's be real. There's been nothing really concrete that's come through to say that we're going to do anything. Let's have a look then. So what are people saying in regards to that? Chris here is saying here, the only thing Farke has is a stronger squad. He loses that advantage and we finish 4th. Yeah, 100%. Listen, and we're going to speak about Daniel Farke just a little bit later. And we're going to speak about this too, Brad. Matt here saying here, my worry is that our defenders will start to make mistakes to overcompensate for Meslier, as they may not trust him. Matt, I think it's clear they don't trust him. And listen, we're going to probably hear this in the press conference today. We're going to hear it's a united front. Meslier, Illan knows what he needs to do better, blah, blah, blah. We're going to hear all this today, I would assume. But actions speak louder than words. And we saw it with Kiko Casilla previously, just how shaky the defenders were in front of him. They weren't sure if the ball was going to get cleared, or they were going to get clattered. And I think it's pretty evident, and we've seen it with Meslier before in the Premier League, never mind in this division, that the defenders don't trust him, and rightly so. Your eyes and the data don't lie, people. I'm sorry, you can't excuse this anymore. If you were excusing it before, you can't excuse it anymore. You just can't. And listen, he may get thrown a softball this weekend and get thrown in against Harrogate, keep a clean sheet, and he catch a ball, and Daniel Farke after the game will say, yeah, it's the extra goalkeeping work he was doing while he caught that ball. But the basics are there. And I've said for too long with Illan Meslier, the very, very basics for this goalkeeper get overly praised. A simple save that's straight in front of him that he pushes out gets a clip on the social media. It's insane, because he's that bad, that the simple things he cannot do. But listen, this will be on Leeds, and it goes to a comment that I had previously, and I said it in the comments that context in text gets lost. But the commenter basically said, if the 49ers don't address it and we don't go up, then we deserve everything we get. And I just simply said, I don't deserve it, and you guys don't deserve it, the ones that have been calling for Meslier to replace, because we've been saying he's not good enough. You know, it shouldn't have taken this long for everyone to get round to the idea or used to the fact that he's not good enough, but it has taken people that long. But you know, but what I said in that is that, yeah, the 49ers will suffer with being in this division another year. But even if they're going to lose money, and even if they were looking to sell because they can't take it anymore, I don't think that would be the case. But let's just say it was. They're not going to get as much money as they thought as they would for a Premier League team. And not only that, Daniel Farke would get sacked. But the one thing that will remain, people, is that it's us that suffers. The ones that want Leeds United to be successful. I'm not talking about the ones that are just happy that Leeds United exist and okay with that. I want to be successful as a Leeds United supporter, and it just affects us, because everyone else can leave, but we remain here, and we're the ones that will pay for these costly errors. But all we can do, people, with this, if Meslier doesn't leave, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, there's still a possibility he does leave, is that we don't get punished like we did last season, because last season was atrocious. Never mind that QPR game. Listen, let's not go into it, but let's just hope we don't get punished. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Yeah, we're not doing that as well, Hyru. So much for trying to expand Ellen Road if we don't go. I have a high. I don't believe that can happen. I don't believe it can happen without Premier League football. I just think of the cost. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense. I believe they'll fill it. I think if you expanded Ellen Road to 50K plus, you'll fill that stadium. I have no doubt about it. I'm just thinking about the cost without Premier League football, because it all rolls in. You don't get the additional sponsors who will pay the extra because you're in the Premier League. We've done very well to get that 60 million deal, 50 million, whatever it was, with Red Bull. That's an amazing deal. But in general, I just don't see how that would be cost effective. But look, we've heard about these redevelopments at Ellen Road. We'll speak about when it actually has a date on it, right? Let's do it. Leeds stay in this league. What's left of our big club reputation is going to vanish. Yeah, we'll be just another team. Absolutely will. And that's another thing as well, because the teams that will come down next year, they won't get to keep all their players, but they're championship proof for me. Southampton, that's a championship team. Ipswich, and we'll speak about them in a moment, if they get to keep half of that team, they're favorites to go straight back up. That Ipswich team is a top championship club. And whoever else comes down is going to have a pretty good shot as well, whether it be Wolves, Everton, Leicester, whoever else it may be. It's going to be even tougher, and we will lose our better players. I'm talking the Ampadu's. Dan James, I'm probably sure will probably leave us. I think another team will take a chance on him who goes up from this league. So yeah, it will be a lot harder. I don't even want to think about it at this point, people. But listen, we're on the 9th of January. There's a lot of time to go. So let's see what happens. Shall we move on to transfers? Because I'm not going to spend too long on these. Someone mentioned bring me Latte Lath. He's been linked, and it's reported that Middlesbrough won around £15 million for Latte Lath. I got to say, people, let me just get a sip of my Red Bull. Contributing to the cause, people. I've got to say, this transfer rumor doesn't move me, and I'm going to mention another one in a bit that just really doesn't make me move. If I was shocked out my sleep, I'd just turn back over and go to sleep. But this one doesn't move me. Emmanuel Latte Lath. I know a few of you rate him, and it is probably because he scored against Leeds a couple of times. But the price point, 15 million, and it's on Middlesbrough. They can, choose to charge that. He's got like a couple years left on his deal. For me, I just don't see it. I don't see it. And I could be wrong. He could be the next Gyökeres, and he could like take another league by storm or another team by storm and be a goal machine. But at 26 years old, where he's only been prolific in the last few years, and he's been playing Serie C football for a lot of those years. Yes, he was younger, but yeah, I just don't see people. Now, is he more of a rounded striker that probably would suit Daniel Farke a bit more? Sure, but there's a lot of other players that are a lot more rounded as well that aren't 26 years old and has got 10 goals in this division, much like Joel Peru has in this division. Is his all-round game, better than Joel Peru's? Maybe. He's not as technical as Joel Peru, and he's certainly not as intelligent, in terms of his movement. Certainly not. But in this, I look at this another way. 15 million pounds is a lot of outlay for a striker. I don't know how much of our budget that would be. It would probably be nearly all of it. It doesn't make sense to me. Not while we've got Joel Peru here, not while you've still got Patrick Bamford on the books, not while you got Mateo Joseph here. It doesn't make a lick of sense. It doesn't. What is people saying? Carlos here, John here saying we aren't spending 12 million. I do think we can spend 12 million, John. I just don't feel it's going to be on this guy. Not worth the money at the moment. Carlos here saying he's having an inconsistent season. Carlos, you stole my thunder, brother. His number is decent because he scored a hat-trick against the mighty Oxford. Carlos, you stole that from me, man. I was thinking, I was going to say that. And listen, you get goals, you score goals against whoever. Okay, goals are goals, right? But he literally did get 3 goals against Oxford, all right? And he got an assist in that game too. And he's got 3 goals in his last 10 games. I don't know what the clamor would be for this kind of player. Now, people will say, yeah, but with Solomon, Nanto, Aronson around him, he could get even better. He could, but this just doesn't move me. And I'm thinking forward to the Premier League. No, not for me. Not for me, people. And this is where we're going to go with a lot of these kind of things. We are looking as a top 2 club right now. We're not looking at the playoffs and hoping to go up. We're looking at automatic promotion and saying, who can help us now and in the future? And for me, 15 million is a lot of outlay for a striker that's 26 years old and isn't even, for me, been the best striker this season. And I'm not just talking from a goal return. I'm talking from a all-round game. I don't even think he's been the best. So, yeah, Deshaun here, have any of our players got a hat-trick this year? Fair, Deshaun. I mean, if the bar is Oxford, then all right, fairs. But no, I know what you're saying here, but I mean, that doesn't mean that you just pick up one player because he got a hat trick. Didn't Tom Cannon score 4 goals in one game for Stoke this season? Does that mean we should go get Tom Cannon? Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. Nidar here saying it's like sharpening a sword with no handle on it. Just go get a keeper. And Nidar's right here. And it goes to the next one that I'm going to speak about now as well. Why are we looking at even thinking about spending 15 million on a striker when goals for me aren't an issue? I know a lot of you are saying 10 and 9 is, but I don't. I think that we've got more than enough goals in this team to go up. I do. I think that we've got goal sources from a lot of places. If we're going to spend 12 million anywhere, go get a goalkeeper for me. And the next one, and I'm only going to briefly touch on this, people, because I just don't see this even being a thing. And the Harlem Show just saying here, not good enough to move to the Prem with Latte. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Ben Sheaf for Coventry, another 26-year-old. And this is another one. He's not even having an inconsistent season, people. He's having a poor season. And the price that's being rumored for this guy is 8 million Great British pounds. Excuse me? Now, listen, again, Coventry are well within their rights to demand that. He's their player. And if they deem him worth 8 million to them, then cool. But this is just another meat and potatoes kind of player. And don't get me wrong, people, I know you need them in there, but you can get other meat and potatoes player with a higher ceiling. At 26 years old, I have to ask this question. Why hasn't he been taken previously? And he's had better seasons than this season. Even I will say that. Why hasn't he been taken? Why isn't Ipswich taking him? Because Ipswich are buying all the tippy-top championship talent. Why isn't no one else taking a chance? Maybe Leicester can't do a deal with Coventry. Maybe that rivalry is too much. Why didn't Southampton take him? Year before, why didn't someone else take him? And why would it be Leeds United at this moment in time where central midfield is not an issue for us, would we take Ben Sheaf? This is a game where I look at the Premier League. Ethan Ampadu, rightly so, Premier League midfielder. Of course. Ben Sheaf? This is just another one for me, and I hope this isn't going to be a reoccurring yearly theme. This is another Harry Winks. This is another, who's that other big-headed guy that we keep getting linked to at the start of the year before he also moved to Leicester. What's his name, people? Harry Winks, and who's the other one? You guys will know who I'm talking about. Just another plain Jane, just basic baller, and he just falls under this category for me. And I know you need players in there to do the dog work. I'm fully aware of that. But then you can also get them like a Ethan Ampadu. All right. You can also get them like a Tanaka. All right. You can get better players. There you go, Hyrie. You knew who I was talking about. Oliver Skip. So forgettable. I forget his name. This is just another Oliver Skip, Harry Winks, where we just get linked with these basic ballers that have got zero attributes that make them stand out or make them a team better. No, just no for me. And £8 million? Yeah, I know. I've seen him, Gary. This I know. Yeah, listen, people. I'm just going to put a bow on this one. Frank Lampard has said that he's not for sale, but we know that money talks. And if Leeds were stupid enough to do a deal, then I think we'd get him. I think that's pretty obvious. But I don't get why we would spend £8 million on a position we don't need again, and for a player that doesn't crack. Whose place is he taking? That's another question. Whose place is he taking in the starting 11? And this is another thing I'll say, and again, this will probably get ripped from me as everything else does. But when you go up to the Premier League, people, your promotion team, your starters are supposed to move to the bench, and your bench players are supposed to be sold. That's how it should work. I mean, Forest just overhauled that whole thing, but that's a whole different story. But you're supposed to do that. Who's Ben Sheaf taking? Whose place is he taking? For me, he's not even better than Joe Rothwell. So I wouldn't even, if they paid £8 million for Ben Sheaf, he doesn't even get ahead of just alone Joe Rothwell for me. He certainly doesn't get ahead of Tanaka, and he definitely doesn't get of Ethan Ampadu. So yeah, for me, this is just, I feel like this is maybe just, just a rumor being thrown out there, but I'd be very disappointed. And again, I look at it for the bigger picture. This is the 49ers enterprises who are allegedly data-led. If they look at the data on this player this season, they'd be thinking, what are we spending £8 million on? And also, with the Red Bull connections, we're going to have a much better pool to play with in the Premier League. We've got to. But speaking of this, yeah, Matt, exactly. And I keep forgetting that Gruev's here, and that's not on purpose. It's just that he's kind of like out of sight, out of mind right now. But he would be behind Gruev. Just no for me. Just no. Again, Carlos, though, what I will say is that this is not correct. Sheaf is worth less than 500. I don't agree with that, Carlos, because there's just too many different variables when it comes to that. A club can value a player at a certain thing. That's up to them, but then it's up to the buying club to pay it. Listen, we got nearly 80 million in total. I think it goes under the radar. We got nearly 80 million for both Somerville and Rutter this past summer, which is crazy for a championship club. But that's the power of Leeds United. That's what we do. You know what I mean? That's what we can do when a player performs well here. And maybe to other clubs that passed on Somerville, they said, hey, he ain't worth 25. But to West Ham, they said, we'll take him. See how he gets on with Graham Potter, though, man. That must be a sharp for him coming up, but that's his problem. We'll see. Gavin here saying spend £8 million on a keeper to guarantee promotion. Yeah. And we wouldn't even need to spend 8 million, Gavin. But this is it. We're speaking about promotion, and this is something I want to speak about and get your thoughts on it in terms of this. Oh, by the way, speaking of goalkeeper, Illan Meslier, that Stade Rennais path is closed now. They did sign Brice Samba yesterday. Absolutely top goalkeeper, man. Top goalkeeper. So yeah, they won't be moving in for Illan Meslier unless he's going to go there and be the backup, because Brice Samba is about 10 levels above Illan Meslier, and I'm probably being generous. But yeah, so there you go. Stade Rennais shoring up their goalkeeping spot with Brice Samba. And that's a shame for me, because he would have been in my rumors for the summer when we get promoted, because he's a top goalkeeper. But moving on to this, speaking of Daniel Farke, and Johansson was 1 million, Matt. He was one. That's it. 1 million for him. That's the crazy thing. That's what I said in the video ages ago. But I want to speak about this, and this is where we go to Daniel Farke and also attracting players, because we have seen people. I spoke about this in the video before, that Enzo Le Fee was being linked with Sunderland, and Reggie Lebris was crucial to make it happen, as Fabrizio says here. That move, let me tell you something. Enzo Le Fee does not move to championship team Sunderland if Reggie Lebris isn't there. He doesn't move there, but he is going there, and it is going to be with a view to permanent if they get promoted. This is the latest on it. Loan deal, salary covered, buy option clause to become mandatory if Sunderland get promoted, potential value up to 23 to 24 million euros. That is a really good signing. Now, listen, is he going to acclimatize to this division? It's not as technical as I believe he should be in the Prem. Of course not. We wait and see. But the point is, the attraction for the player to come because of the coach is a big pull. And by the way, I mean, listen, this was me 2 years ago, by the way, people. Why Leeds United should sign rising star midfielder Enzo Le Fee. There's me a couple years ago, people. But, you know, in the old setup with an old mic. That's me. That was me talking about him because this was when he was at Lorient, and he is the way he plays football. He's just a beautiful baller. You know, get some runners around him, let him do his thing, let him be creative. Wonderful player to watch. And we'll see him up close in the Championship. They do. They have a top midfield. They do have a top midfield. I don't know if Joby Bellingham is staying. I don't know if this is on the preface of him going. But just imagine if they get to keep him. It just makes me think as well. I know FFP and everything is a thing, but if Sunderland can add an Enzo Le Fee to their ranks, along with keeping their better players like Joby Bellingham, it's like, and Chris Rigg to add to that, it's like, But another one as well, and this is again just the key thing in this: Jaden Philogene to Ipswich Town. 21 million deal from Aston Villa. But the important thing I want to highlight here is the direct call with Kieran McKenna was crucial. Everton were interested as well. Don't know what Everton were going to do. Maybe they're going to have a whip round or a GoFundMe to go buy him. But again, the call with the manager, who's highly respected, Kieran McKenna, who Man United were looking at in the summer until he decided to stay, was crucial. Also, look back at Bournemouth when they sacked Gary O'Neill. The reason why the owner came out and said, Bill Foley come out and said, look, we're going forward. Gary O'Neill's form wasn't good, and we want a coach who's highly respected so we can attract a better player. And that's where I'm going with this. In terms of what other people can attract, how highly rated is Daniel Farke in terms of talking to a player and, you know, convincing him to come to us in the Premier League over other respected coaches? You're even looking at West Ham now getting Graham Potter in the door. How much pull? This is the question, basically. How much pull does Daniel Farke have? Now, listen, people will say about Solomon in the Championship, etc. But for me, Solomon, I think it's quite evident as well, was just desperate not to leave England. He had bids from Ajax, he had bids from other European clubs that are in European competition, but he was desperate to stay in England. And just looking at the way Solomon looks at the manager, sometimes you can tell you don't rate him that much. But this is what I want to. This is what I'm saying in terms of the pull of a manager. Bournemouth getting in Iriola, who can then get Cliver in. He can then attract other players that have then pushed players that I still feel could be playing Premier League football, like Philip Billing and other players like that. They can push them down. Kepa in goal. Even though I don't rate Kepa like that, he's attracted Kepa, who once cost £75 million, to Bournemouth. That's what he's done. Ivan Nilsson, who's out injured now, he's attracted those players. Now, on a whole different scale, this is Leeds United, so we're an attraction within itself. Let's say that. But what I will say is that when we were last in the Premier League, does Rafinha move from Rennes, Champions League Rennes, to Leeds United, who are newly promoted, without Bielsa being the coach? If it was Paul Heckingbottom, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that the coach has a lot to do with it at times. Sometimes money, opportunity can be your driving force. Absolutely got that one. Absolutely. But I do feel your coach has a lot to do with it. And it kind of goes with the kind of player you can attract. I just don't know with Danny Farke. And even if you're looking at some of his old players that he may look to bring in, none of them like blow me away in terms of who he could bring in. None of his Norwich boys. The one Norwich boy that I would consider would have been Pookie, but he's old and done now. Buendia, maybe so. If we go up, maybe we can do a deal for him at where we will be in the table and what we're hoping to achieve in survival. Gladbach, I don't know, you know, how many players I'm itching to get from there. I just don't know what kind of pull he has. And I've made my stance very clear. I think he can still get us promoted, but I have zero confidence in this man being a Premier League coach. I don't even think of him against Arne Slot. I don't think of him against Pep Guardiola. I think of him against Sean Dyche. And I think he'll get out coached by Sean Dyche. I think Dyche will have a plan for him and he'll execute it to perfection. I don't believe in Daniel Farke to be a Premier League coach, which is why, you hope that when we get promoted, we can have a clean break. But I just don't see it happening. I think 49ers will back him, and I think it will cost us like 10 games of next year. But I'm just saying, what is the pull with Daniel Farke? Mr. Anthrope here, look at the way he treated Farke treated Spence. Look at him now playing outstandingly for Spurs. He gets a lot wrong. He gets a lot wrong. And I said this about Jed Spence, and all of you were questioning me. Remember some of you? Oh, yeah, what are you saying about Spence now? Killed it on loan at Genoa last season, and he's doing so well right now for Spurs. Locked up Salah last night, people. Salah didn't even know he was on the pitch. Spence absolutely locked him up. And he's been playing left back, centre back. Archie Gray's been playing centre back there for thing. It's so funny seeing our two competing right backs at some point last season now playing first team Premier League football at centre back for Spurs. It's kind of funny seeing it, I'm not going to lie, but Archie Gray is rightly so getting all the plaudits from Spurs fans. They're absolutely loving him there. But Spence is likewise doing the best he can in an alternate position for Ange in a high-line Tottenham team. But yeah, in just, Mr. Anthrope talks about Spence here, but it's not just him. But Mr. Anthrope is right. Joe Roden will give you a glowing report of Daniel Farke to say, yeah, I've had a great time. But then maybe Jaden Anthony will say, he didn't really speak to me much and I didn't get to play much. Connor Roberts may say, yeah, I mean, I went with the intention of playing, but I didn't get much game time. Other players as well will probably have that. But you will always get players that don't get played to say, that coach wasn't for me. But there is a pattern with this guy, especially when it comes to players not playing until someone goes out injured or someone's out suspended. There is a pattern. Chris here saying another one we call KG. You got my membership on Spence. Yeah. Deshaun, he got out. He got out tacted by Neil Harris. Yeah, I mean, John Eustace has got his number. Russell Martin had his number. It's not very. It doesn't instill me with any confidence. There's no, I don't sit on the fence with this. He's not a Premier League coach for me in any way, shape, or form. He isn't. And I do it measuring things. Am I ever going to look at Daniel Farke and say, oh man, he's given me better times than David O'Leary? Because David O'Leary for me is still in my lifetime. I know there's some older fans of the channel that were around for the real, trophy winning, league winning seasons, and I respect that 100. But for me, for my lifetime, David O'Leary is the best. There's no one else that compares. Some would say Bielsa, but Bielsa didn't take us into Europe. Not his fault. I mean, some was his fault, but I measure it against memories I've got. And I've got memories of Leeds United being one of the best teams in England. Never mind just, Europe. We were one of the best in the country. I don't see Daniel Farke ever measuring to that. I don't. Bobby, exactly. German Scott Parker. Gavin, you make a point here. Spurs already in profit on Archie. It's funny because one of my guys who supports Tottenham saying we got another 10 years of Archie Gray and Bergvall. I said to him, bro, you got to slow down, because I even said it when we sold Archie Gray. I think Tottenham's a stopgap for Archie. I still think Archie's going to go on to the next level, whether that be Liverpool, whether it be a European club. We know Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, all those European giants were looking at him. I think Tottenham is the next stop. Is a stop before the next one for Archie. That's just me personally. Michael saying O'Leary had unlimited funds, to be fair. Not at the start, he didn't, Michael. Not at the start. He didn't. We spent 5 million on Michael Bridges. This is the 99-2000 season, people. And we blooded experience with our top academy at the time. We didn't spend a lot of money, even for that time where you say that's a lot of money at the time. We didn't spend a lot. It wasn't until we got to the Champions League, Michael, and everyone else, where we just spunk money like it was nothing, like it was water. Ridiculous spending. I don't really want to go into it because it depresses me. 13 million for Seth Johnson. We're taking the mick. All right. We didn't need that. But listen. But yeah, I know David O'Leary has his faults. But I'm saying the memories for me just won't. Well, I say, listen, that's not important anyway. The point I'm trying to make is Farke ever going to get us to European football again? I don't think so. I don't see it with this manager. I don't. I don't even think he probably survives. But in that, people saying if Farke stays, we're going to get relegated from the Prem. I don't think the 49ers will let it go that far. I think they'd probably give him a certain amount of games and then say, sorry, Daniel, this isn't for us, and then move him on and get someone else in. But I say just bypass all of that. Do it in the summer. You've got to recognize that this guy isn't a good coach. He will win games, and he'll probably win the next 4 games, people, maybe 3. We don't seem to be able to win 4 at this moment in time. But it doesn't mean he's a good coach. He's got the good players to get him out of a hole, to that go, that override his tactical system. But yeah, listen. What we saying here? David saying 9 million for Fowler. Yeah, we were just spunking money. We didn't need it. We had like 6 first-team strikers at the time. It was ridiculous, man. Just ridiculous. And Fowler even said he didn't even want to come in an interview. But I understand. Listen, there's a lot of footballers like that. But yeah, crazy stuff. Yeah, but listen, that's all I want to say. Listen, get your thoughts in the comment section in terms of what I've said at the end there. Daniel Farke's pool, does he have any? Let me know in the comments. And Reese, I'm going to say this is Reese. Yeah. Oh, Reaper. His players are bailing him out, but Farke's player management is poor. Yeah, I would say so as well. But listen, Bob here saying, look at Farke's win percentage. It's the best in Leeds history, for God's sake. That's all well and good, Bob. This is the championship, though. And again, this is where people like Bob and everything don't have context. David O'Leary was going up against monsters, Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger. Those days, he was beating and getting results against them. Not all the time, but he was doing that and finishing 4th. David O'Leary, I'll just leave it here. David O'Leary got sacked for finishing 5th in the Premier League, people. Say no more. Say no more. But yeah, listen, people, that is it. We're going to be back later anyway in terms of another video, because Daniel Farke's press conference is going to be today. I'm sure someone's going to ask him about Illan Meslier and everything else in between. If they don't, then they're not doing their jobs properly. Let's just say that. But listen, people, we will be back. It's been a meaty session today. From whatever I've said in here, if you've got any thoughts and feelings, put your thoughts down below in the comment section, and like the video, people. It's free to do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.